Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lounge podcast. I am Anthony Irwin, senior Lakers insider. Well, not single, not singular, senior Lakers insider for Clutch Points. And today on the show, we got to talk about that game. The Lakers beat the Minnesota Timberwolves in game 2 of this knockdown drag-out series. The final was 94-85. 85 points is the lowest points the Lakers have allowed all season. They showed up ready to throw stones as Minnesota was ready to throw stones, and the Lakers house is the one that remains standing after the game. So we got to talk about the defense. We got to talk about Luka actually getting some assists. We got to talk about LeBron joining the series. He actually talked. The episode was recorded before the playoffs. Excuse me, but he actually talked in his second episode of whatever his show is called about easing himself into playoff series. We saw game 2 LeBron in this one. I started to see kind of a glimmer of hope there for Austin, who I thought has been mostly bad this series. He looked a lot better, especially in the second half. Again, defense. And then, still a couple nits to pick, I would say. I'm looking at my phone and it's going. And so I'll try to keep up with whatever is happening in my mentions for pointing out that the Minnesota Timberwolves shot more free throws than the Lakers in a game that the league apparently was rigging for the Lakers. But yeah, we'll talk about this game. We'll raise some questions there at the end of the show. And if y'all have any questions, hit me with them over the course of the show, and I'll get to them as best I can at the tail end of the episode. All right, let's start with my first quarter recap. There he is. You can't play that after a loss. I don't care how well Luka played in the first quarter of the first game. They lost. I didn't feel like smiling. In this one, I do. I know this is a YouTube broadcast, and then eventually it'll go out over the RSS feed as well. And the lowdown episodes are RSS feed exclusives. So some of the YouTube audience here might not catch every lowdown that I record. At the tail end of yesterday's lowdown, I talked about the notion of smelling the roses and enjoying the moment, even though we don't know how this playoff run is going to turn out. And after a game like that, where I was literally falling off of my couch because of some of the decisions that the Lakers were making, to come out of that game with a win and now head to Minnesota in a 5-game series against a Minnesota Timberwolves team that I still think the Lakers match up fairly well against. We got to take a second, take a beat, and acknowledge how fun this is and how much I missed playoff basketball, where I feel like there are stakes that extend well beyond the series. Before, when the Lakers were in their series a couple of years ago, even when they went to the Western Conference Finals, every win was kind of like a happy-go-lucky, oh, all right, cool, hell yeah. Oh, we won a series. How about that? Oh, shit, we won another one. Huh. And then they got swept. And then, the following year, they play Denver in the first round. And, going into that series, the Lakers don't really have a chance. This time, though, the Lakers not only have a chance, but they should advance. And hopefully after they advance, they have their eyes set on a prize that extends well beyond beating whoever in the second round of the playoffs. It's get to the Western Conference Finals, get to the finals, win the whole bleeping thing. And that brings that attaches greater stakes to these games. And my kind of before we got dive into the specifics of this game and the the notes that I have of this game, I did want to start by just like saying that was fun. It was ugly, felt like a hernia, but it was fun because playoff sports is like 99% painful and then hopefully 1% jubilant. And in this case, we gotta, when the 1% happens, let's sit back and take it in and have a good time with it. Let's talk about the game, though. Luka Doncic, obviously, much like the first game, started off the first quarter absolutely taking it to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And that appears to be the Lakers' approach, or at least his approach is, I'm going to set the tone. Y'all got to catch up to me, and then we'll see where the game goes from there. The Lakers jumped out to 20, I think 2 or 3 point lead at one point. Then the lead started diminishing further and further and further. Never really felt like it, but Minnesota never got within 9 of the Lakers. So by relative standards, if you consider the final score here, where the Lakers only scored 94 points and Minnesota only scored 85 points, Minnesota never getting within 9 is the 1980s equivalent of a 20-point win. And again, it never really felt like it. And it would be nice if the Lakers outright blew them out, but hey, they covered. Avery gets, well, I guess Miles gets donut money tomorrow, and we get to move on. But I think one thing that is abundantly clear is the Lakers do not respect Rudy Gobert. They do not respect Naz Reid. I think there's a little bit more respect for Julius Randle, who is honestly Minnesota's best player in this series so far. It's very close between him and Anthony Edwards. But for what the Lakers are essentially trying to do on offense, it's if they can get Mike Conley in against somebody bigger, okay. But Minnesota's doing such a good job of making that switch really difficult to come by that the Lakers are just basically deciding, all right, fine, we'll go after those guys over there. And Austin Reaves, I thought, looked the best he's looked so far in the series in the second half when he was finally attacking. And then you had, Gobert wasn't able to stay on the court. I said after last game that the Lakers are not going to win any games where Gobert has a positive plus minus. He was a -2 in this game, which is still up there as far as the best numbers on the Minnesota Timberwolves stat line. It's, Nickeil Alexander-Walker was a +8 in 29 minutes. It's kind of interesting. And then you had Rudy Gobert next up at a -2 or only in a -2. Terrence Shannon Jr. technically played 7 minutes and was a +7. I'm not counting him. Those minutes are kind of noisy. But for the Lakers to flip Gobert from being a +14 in last game to being a -2 this game, and he never really looked anywhere near as comfortable as he did defensively in this game as he did in the first game. That's, I think, one of the bigger keys out right here. So I think, before we get into, more specific players, and I'm going to follow up with a little bit more on this in a bit, I think the Lakers basically taking it upon themselves to punish whoever is out there between Naz Reid or Rudy Gobert to make sure that Minnesota only plays one of those three guys at any given time, that worked a little bit better in this game. I would like for the Lakers to play a different note over the course of the song. But overall, it was a lot more productive in game two than it was in game one. So we'll see what Minnesota does to counter what the Lakers did there, and how ready the Lakers are for, with other pitches that they might be able to throw. Double analogies on that one. Biggest story from this game, though, even more so than any one particular player, the Lakers showed up and they put their 10 toes down in the dirt and said, we are not getting punked again, flat out. We are not going to. There's going to be some shoving after the whistle. We're going to match that energy. There's going to be illegal screens, and there's going to be extra physicality while the ball is in play. We're ready for that. We'll bring some of it of our own. And without that as kind of the tone that the Lakers were intentionally setting right from the get-go, I don't think they win this game. And I don't think they would have a chance in the rest of the series, again, if not for that tone that they were willing to set here in game two. Wish they would have said it in game one so that we'd be going to Minnesota up 2-0. But in this case, they got their asses kicked in game one. They got thoroughly humbled. They sat in that in that mess for 72 hours or however many hours, and then came out in game two and said, that's not happening again. That level of pride, that level of leadership, and that level of give a bleep and physicality and toughness. If Minnesota was able to punk the Lakers again in game two, to any extent, in the way that they did in game one, this series would be over. Minnesota would have that mental edge over the Lakers. They would have that physical edge over the Lakers. They would have that toughness edge over the Lakers. And this thing would be all over, but the fat lady singing. And in this case, though, by showing up, by punching back, I thought Minnesota threw like the cheap shots a little bit more than the Lakers did. I thought it kind of showed some of the seams in Minnesota's toughness that they would resort to some of those cheap shots because the Lakers were being a little bit more physical throughout all facets of the game. What comes out on the other end of that equation is a game that, it was played in the mud. It felt like a throwback game. It felt like they were just bludgeoning each other with heavy ass rocks for the entirety of the game. And sometimes that's how you have to win. And oftentimes those really, really small teams, those are the games those teams lose. But in this case, the Lakers were able to do just enough in terms of physicality and execution, offensive production, and completely stifling defense that they were able to go out and win that kind of a rock fight. So, just all around, that's exactly the kind of approach that the Lakers needed to take before we even get to the basketball stuff. What I'm essentially saying is,
Lloyd, just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this and totally redeem yourself.
love the missed high five there at the end. I apologize for how my throat sounds. My children keep coughing in my face. I even had to step into the Petri dish that is your typical Apple store. I hope this show isn't sponsored by Apple because from now on, I'm flaming Apple. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive into some more of the specific stuff. Luka Doncic went in 42 minutes, 31 points. They're saying he only has 9 assists. I don't know if they took away an assist to make it so that he doesn't have a triple double in this game. That's kind of weird. But 31 points, 11 or 12 rebounds, 9 assists or 10, whatever the final number winds up being. 9 of 20 from the field, 11 of 11 from the free throw line. And this is without shooting the ball very well from deep. He went 2 of 8 from 3-point range. And I thought when he wasn't taking those step back 3-pointers, he was head and shoulders the best player on the basketball court. Whether it was getting into the paint and getting into the floater game or the step back mid-range jumpers that he likes to take, that's when he looked absolutely unstoppable. When he was taking some of those step back 3-pointers, I thought he was kind of letting Minnesota off of the hook. I understand, given the way he had it going in the mid-range, he would think that would extend out to the 3-point line. It didn't. But overall, I thought it was a phenomenal Luka game. And again, 42 minutes for him. He played 42 minutes. LeBron played 40 minutes. Austin played 43 minutes. JJ Redick coached this game to the best of his abilities right now. I think he still has a ways to go, but he coached this thing like a game 7, and he let you put everything out there on the table and was like, we cannot lose this game. And you saw now some of this also has to do with Rui exiting early. He got poked in the eye, I think. I haven't seen any pictures of Rui's face after the game. He tried out a clear mask, didn't like that, went with the black mask, and wound up sticking with that for the rest of the game. The telecast said that he didn't break anything, so I'm not really sure why they're saying that it was a precautionary thing wearing the mask, which is weird because if you didn't break anything, and if they never showed his eye to indicate that he got poked in the eye, then it's the same precaution that, like, I would wear a mask for the show, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, Rui had to stepped away from the game for a little bit. That brought, I believe, LeBron back into the game a little bit earlier than he normally would. And LeBron wound up playing 40 minutes in this one. And I think that might be kind of the equation here, especially with Jackson Hayes playing just an absolutely disastrous game. But yeah, back to Luka. I thought the Lakers did a couple of things a little bit differently this time that made him more dynamic as a player. For one thing, if they were going to match up punt, they got right to it. They got the ball across half court and they got right into whatever pick and roll that they needed to run to make sure that Luka got the matchup that he wanted with plenty of time to go to work. That was the first kind of macro adjustment. A little bit micro was, some of the plays where, I thought the Lakers did some cool stuff to actually get the ball to Luka, guarded against some smaller guys and get him into the post, especially earlier in the game. As the game wore on, it was a lot more Luka bringing the ball up or Luka getting the ball at the top and going to work from up there. But early on, when it came to kind of setting the tone and getting some easier production from Luka, I thought the Lakers did a really good job of getting him the ball in different parts of the court or on different parts of the court, and that made him a hell of a lot more productive. So, yeah, I think that's something that the Lakers, I would like to see them extend that approach from the first half a little deeper into the game, to where Luka can be that dynamic of a scorer for a little bit longer, and you force, like, tonight was the first time I think all series where we saw some swing passes from the Lakers defense, and I think a big part of that was Luka getting by his guy, getting into the paint, kicking it out, understanding where to kick it, and then the Lakers finally being able to get into their blender offense. Um, those are the kinds of things that, Luka was better with tonight, but I also thought that the Lakers did a much better job of making life a little bit easier for him. The next guy we got to talk about here is LeBron, who, again, 40 minutes for LeBron, 8 of 19 from the field. He also struggled from 3-point range. Both teams did. Minnesota shot 20% from 3-point range, 5 of 25. And the Lakers shot not much better, 6 of 29, which is 20.7% from 3-point range. So both teams were just throwing up bricks, throwing bricks at the rim, bricks at each other. This series, like, I would be surprised if there weren't a couple more kerfuffles over the course of the rest of the series. But yeah, LeBron, 40 minutes, 8 of 19 from the field, one of 5 from 3-point range. Got to the free throw line 4 times, made all 4 of those. The Lakers were perfect from the free throw line tonight as a team. 21 points for LeBron, 11 rebounds, 7 assists for him. He was a +9. I talked about Luka earlier. He was a +12 and led everybody there. But yeah, I thought LeBron did a couple of things a lot better tonight. One, first and foremost, I thought the Lakers did a better job, even while I think they could do better. But I thought they did a better job getting out into transition. I think that helps LeBron the most. So he got out in transition a couple of times, got some layups out there, had some assists in transition. Those are the things that the Lakers, I think, are going to need to do to make life a little bit easier for him. But I also thought defensively, he was a lot more involved. It was not as much of the center field point to where guys need to go kind of stuff. I thought he was very active, closing out, helping, boxing out, getting up there if he isn't going to get a rebound, but at least tipping it out of the hands of would-be offensive rebounders for Minnesota. I thought it was as far as like what we can expect from LeBron, while the Lakers offense kind of reduces him in the half court to being a jump shooter. That was about as a good a game as we could possibly hope for from LeBron as currently utilized offensively. What I would like to see, and this is where the chess game over the course of a series comes into play. I would imagine that the Lakers are just kind of holding on to the Luka LeBron stuff so that Minnesota doesn't have any counters for it when the Lakers finally go there. They were able to get there, win their one home game to extend the series a little bit. And I do think as they go further into the series and as the stakes get higher and higher, like hell, the Lakers, they have a couple days off between now and game 3. I would look at game 3 as kind of a must win here for the Lakers, so that you at least get home court back and you don't risk going down 3-1, depending on how game 4 goes. And I would imagine in game 3, they'll open up the playbook a little bit more with Luka LeBron stuff that gets LeBron going downhill towards the basket a little bit more than he has been in game 1 and game 2. I do think we saw the playbook open up a little bit more. We'll talk about Austin here in a second, but I thought we saw the playbook open up a little bit more. I thought some of the stuff that they ran when they absolutely needed good looks was actually fairly clean, especially compared to game 1. And I think that's only going to improve over the course of the series. So, yeah, LeBron, after the really kind of frustrating ease himself into the series game 1 that he had, I didn't think he would have that, given how important it's going to be, especially with Golden State winning game 1. That might be a short series in Golden State's favor. I didn't think that we would get the game 1 LeBron. We did, and fortunately we also got game 2, or a version of game 2 LeBron. And that I think played a huge part in LeBron and the Lakers getting back and evening up the series. The next guy I want to talk about here before we get to, well, I already talked about the defense. I mostly put defense wins championships on the board over here. I mostly put that there so that Nico Harrison, if by any chance whatsoever he sees a screen grab of the show or here's a tidbit of the show, a Lakers team with Luca Doncic on it and a podcaster talking about the Lakers and winning championships, I hope that tweaks him a little bit. But I want to talk about Austin Reaves and not Ty while I try to do so. But I have thought for 1.5, maybe 1 and like 5/8 games so far that Austin looked completely overwhelmed by the athleticism and the physicality out there on the court. And I thought tonight he was a lot more physical defensively. That was great to see. But still, for the first half and for most of the third quarter, I still didn't think he looked very comfortable out there. Made a couple shots, made a couple he had that one layup on Rudy Gobert where it was just like that crazy up and under that he had, and he kind of farted the ball up onto the backboard and went in. That was cool to see, but it, like, a lot of his attempts didn't look very balanced or in the kind of rhythm that we're accustomed to seeing with Austin. And I know on Twitter, whenever I tweeted that I don't think Austin has been very good in the series, and I thought that the athleticism has really kind of overwhelmed him. There's this pushback where it's like, well, if he only made his threes, why do you think he's not making his threes, guys? Like this notion of yeah, Austin would be a lot better if he just made his threes. Yeah. Uh-huh. Now ask yourself, do you think being out of rhythm because of the crazy athleticism out there on the court with him that maybe, just maybe, that would impact the threes that aren't going in? No? Yeah? Yeah, shut up. So I saw a lot of that pushback there, and what I saw with a few minutes left in the third quarter and for most of the fourth quarter was Austin finally just saying, you know what? Fuck it. It's Naz Reid. I blew by him mercilessly a couple of games ago when we saw that team. I'm just going to do that again. Oh, come on. It's Rudy Gobert. I can go by him. And then when he did, and he got to the rim and he snuck the ball by Gobert for that layup there, that explosion that you saw where he's yelling to the rest of the crowd there, he can't fucking guard me. All of that stuff, that felt as much reminding himself of that as much as it was reminding Rudy Gobert and everybody on the court and everybody in that arena the fact that, like, yeah, they're bigs. He is, I think, best equipped to blow by those bigs and start the blender up. And so it was great to see in that fourth quarter, Austin finally get some of those switches and say, no, I'm going. And he did. He went, and I thought tonight he was a hell of a lot better. Austin played 43 minutes, which is a game high. Went 7 of 14 from the field, 0 of 6 from three-point range. Again, I think the game being a little fast for him, his legs not quite being there in terms of playoff shape. I think his shooting will get better over the course of the rest of the series, especially after having some of the success that he had going by guys. They're going to have to take a step back. But 7 of 14 from the field, 2 of 2 from the free throw line. He scored 16 points, 5 assists, 5 boards, and was a +8 in the game. So you had Luka +12, LeBron +9, Austin +8. Those guys combined for, I'm doing math in my head here, that's 47 points. That's 68 points of the 94 total that the Lakers scored. They assisted on that's 14, 21 of the Lakers 21 of the Lakers 34 made field goals. And then they also grabbed 19 and that's 23 of the Lakers 32 rebounds. So those three guys were the game. And I think that's really kind of the equation, especially so long as you have Rui going in and out of the game when I don't think he should have been. You had Jackson Hayes just completely piss all down his leg. You had Dorian Finney-Smith. He played a lot better tonight, 39 minutes for him. Still, though, only scored 7 points. Only got up 3 3-pointers. Gabe Vincent only shot 4 total 3-pointers. He finished with 6 points. So, like, if the Lakers are going to win these ugly games, the surest way to win them is with their big three doing big three things. And you look at Minnesota, and frankly, the difference in this game is that Minnesota had a big two. They had Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards combined for 52 points, but they didn't really have a third guy. Dante DiVincenzo was in foul trouble. Naz Reid, I thought, played one of the worst games I've ever seen him play against the Lakers. Like, the difference here is that the Lakers had Austin and Minnesota had a mismatch of like a pretty bad Jaden McDaniels, pretty bad Naz Reid, and in foul trouble Dante DiVincenzo. Again, people are like, oh, it just so happens that Dante DiVincenzo, New York Dante, just happens to get in foul trouble. Yes, man. When you hand check every time you're guarding somebody and you try to do all kinds of shit after and before the whistle, eventually it's going to get called. Yeah. You foul, you put yourself at risk of getting foul calls. Anyway, but I thought that tonight, the difference here in this game, and a big part of the reason that the Lakers now sit 1-1 against Minnesota was Austin finally kind of getting out of his head and just saying, you know what, whatever. I don't know how many. I know you guys probably love it when I talk about golf. This happens every so often. I am okay with my short game. I'm a terrible putter. I'm pretty good with my irons. I hit the ball pretty far. And when you play a lot of golf, when you play really regularly, it's really easy to get into your own head, and you just kind of go like, you one swing, you go, oh, shoot, pulled it. I was a little too handsy here. Oh, shoot, blocked it. Now it farted out to the right. And then at some point in the middle of a really frustrating round, you just say, you know what? I'm going to swing really fucking hard, and I'm going to see where this ball goes. Sometimes you swing really, really hard, and the ball flies off 500 yards in the wrong direction, and it winds up in some poor bastard's backyard. Sometimes you swing really, really hard, and you just say bleep it, and you put a really good swing on the ball, and you get completely out of your head, and it reminds you, oh yeah, that's right. That's why I play golf. And then you see how the rest of your round goes from there. And I thought tonight, Austin had a possession where he got Naz or Naz, I don't know. Naz Reid, he had Naz out in space, and he just kind of said, you know what? It's funny because Austin's also a golfer. He just kind of said, you know what? I'm swinging really hard. Maybe I get my shot blocked. Maybe I get fouled. Maybe I don't. He actually made the layup and wound up like 2 rows deep in the stands because of how hard he went to the basket. And for some reason, Naz Reid like looked at the referee with his hands up, even though they didn't call a foul. Naz did not look comfortable in this game. And I thought that was the kind of bleep it moment for Austin, where he's just like, no, I'm not. I'm not playing like I did in game 1 again. I'm gonna go down swinging. I have a fresh new haircut. I'm just going. And I thought that, frankly, without that possession, I'm not gonna go so far as to say that Lakers don't win this game, but Reeves looked like a very different player after that play. And now if he can extend the rhythm that he got from that play and some of the circus shots that he was hitting, if he can extend that rhythm into, maybe looking at the tape and realizing he has like half of a beat longer on some of his open jumpers than he thinks, maybe because he's gone by some guys, they take half a step backwards, and that gives him a little bit more room to shoot with rhythm that he is more comfortable shooting with. Then you see the 3-point shooting come around. But yeah, acting as if he's been fine and the shot just wasn't going in, I don't think really tells the whole story. And I think Austin would tell you that it didn't tell the whole story either. All right, let's go ahead and get to some of your guys' questions and comments, starting with this sound, obviously. Whoops, my bad. Wrong sound. Was it the wrong sound, though? Anyway, all right, so here's the first starred comment. Well, I'm going to go make sure because sometimes it skips the very, very first one. Let's see. All right, cool. We're good. All right, so Justin Tyndall writes, Randall thinks he's a WWE superstar. It is crazy what he gets away with. Absolutely nuts what Julius Randle gets away with, and then also gets calls when players are just as physical with him. And it really just kind of goes to show that if you're the aggressor, the referees are far more likely to see the retribution than they are to see the original act. And I think with Julius Randle, he just does so much bullshit after the whistle. He had that one play where even Reggie Miller, who fell just shy of actively rooting for the Minnesota Timberwolves tonight, even Reggie Miller was like, yeah, he slapped down pretty damn hard on LeBron James there. Because Randall goes up and he shoots a layup. I have never seen somebody shoot a layup and then like karate chop as part of it. Nope, scratch that. I've probably seen that from Draymond Green and had Warriors fans tell me that that's just part of a shooting motion. But I'm telling you, that is not part of most people's shooting motion, where you shoot a layup, you see LeBron James there, and you go, wham. And the referees were like, yeah, I don't know. Super weird. But yeah, I look, I think, again, a lot of times in sports, it just comes down to who sets what tone first. And that kind of dictates who gets away with what. And Julius Randle has very clearly come into the series saying, you know what? I'm going to throw the first punch, the second punch, the third punch until they catch me punching somebody. And then in this case, they actually caught him punching somebody. And they were like, yeah, was it a punch? Was it a reflex? Did he have a stroke? Who's to say? But yeah, Julius Randle's whistle is pretty insane given what he does out there regularly on a basketball court. All right, next question here comes from Jason JK Productions, who writes, Gobert is a good defender. Only Luca should be able to ISO against him. The bad Wolves defenders are DiVincenzo and Conley. This game taking this much hurts. So at surface value, I would agree that the Lakers need to find a way to attack, especially Conley. But Minnesota does so much work away from the basketball to make it really difficult to just attack Conley They also, like, if Conley's guy is setting a screen, I would love to have courtside seats to listen to some of the communication there, where I'm sure Conley is coming up when his guy is coming up to set a screen and he's yelling, "It's mine, it's mine, it's mine," or, "It's me, it's me, it's me," or, "Stay home, stay home, stay home," just so that whoever is guarding the ball knows that they can't give up that switch uh, on Conley. And then if the switch happens, like there was a possession in the fourth quarter that made me fall off of the couch. But there was a possession there against the Lakers got an offensive rebound. LeBron winds up with the ball on the wing, and Conley is matched up against him one on one. Now, because it was an offensive rebound, the Lakers didn't have a full 24 shot clock, so LeBron wound up having the ball with like maybe 8, 9, 10 tops seconds in terms of how much time he actually could go into what he was trying to do. And rather than put Conley in a locker, he tried a pass, I believe, to like Rui in the middle of the paint that was either a turnover or they just missed a jumper. Um, and I just collapsed. It was like, finally, all right, here's the matchup. Okay. Shit. and I, the Lakers are gonna have to find a way eventually to get Conley into some tougher situations because he has been living the best life in this series so far. What I will say is that, like, I would give Reeves permission to attack Gobert and Reed. I would give a little bit less permission to LeBron, weirdly, to go at those guys. Um, I don't think he still quite has the burst that he needs, and it led to some just kind of pull up jumpers against them. So, like, if it's Luka or Austin, okay. If it's LeBron, try it, see how you're feeling, and then kind of go from there. But I think the bigger point here is it's still way too big a part of the Lakers' offensive diet that they just match up hunt. And I know that's the majority of playoff basketball. That's the surest way to get at least a good look in playoff basketball. But I just don't think, because of how much work the Wolves are doing to keep Conley out of those actions or out of those situations, I don't think the Lakers have such great matchups that they can hunt them from the very beginning of the game to the very end of the game. I thought they did a better job tonight of mixing it up with some sets and stuff like that. But overall, the matchups that the Lakers are trying to pick on, I don't think are quite as fruitful as they think they are. All right, final one here comes from Mike McKean. Good win, been a nothing burger. Get Dalton some run. I would probably say we're on our way to that being an option here. Goodwin played 19 minutes, was a +4, 2 of 4 from. Oh no, that's Gabe Vincent. Sorry. Jordan Goodwin played 7 minutes and grabbed 1 rebound and had 2 personal fouls in the game. The Actually, I'm glad that we're bringing this up because I meant to earlier in the show. Jared Vanderbilt played 8 minutes in this game. And of those 8 minutes, I think I only saw maybe 2 or 3 possessions where he was actually guarding Anthony Edwards. That makes 0 sense, especially when you consider Jackson Hayes was completely useless out there in this game. I don't know, and this is stuff where, like, Dorian was guarding Ant instead of Vando, and I don't understand it. That's the only thing that Vando can you can predict that he can impact the game in this way, this one way, which is piss off Anthony Edwards and make him score on Jared Vanderbilt, the toughest matchup that the Lakers have. But you would have moments where Goodwin was matched up against Edwards, or Goodwin was matched up against Julius Randle, and again, Dorian would primarily guard Ant. And Ant, whenever he really wanted to, he would get whatever matchup he wanted, and then he got into the paint. And tonight he was a lot more effective, I thought, at the rim than he was in game one. The difference in this one was he was 2 of 8 from 3-point range. So, and now look, maybe that is the result of playing Dorian Finney-Smith on him and having a little bit more length. But Vando's not short. So I don't know. If you're going to play Vando at all, you have him. You would think this is relatively straightforward, but you would think you would play Vando on Ant, make him fight through as many screens as he can. And if you give up a switch eventually, then okay, you have to give up that switch. But to not have Vando, for one thing, to have Vando in the game when Ant wasn't makes no sense. And then to have Vando and Goodwin in a game and neither of them are guarding Ant makes even less sense. So I don't know. It doesn't make any sense what they're doing right now. I would hope that's something that they're going to address in film sessions and maybe adjust with over the course of the series. But yeah, to this point, the way that JJ has used Jackson Hayes, and in fairness to JJ here, Jackson, maybe we're learning there is no way to utilize Jackson Hayes if he's going to play the way he did tonight. But the way that he's utilizing Hayes, Vando, and Goodwin just doesn't make any sense to me. And maybe eventually it is just a matter of trimming down the rotation to only 7 guys. Or shoot, you're down to 6 if you don't play Goodwin, Vando, and Hayes. So one of those guys is going to have a very real role in this series, and in series moving forward, hopefully plural. So JJ's going to have to figure that out. And to this point, it's been a really weird approach that JJ has had with Vando specifically. All right, you guys can hear my voice. It is not holding up all that well, so I'm going to take a quick second here, regroup, and then record the lowdown. But yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. Quick reminder, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that like button on your way out. Please enjoy the rest of your night. And again, enjoy nights like this. The Lakers won a playoff game. Before tonight, Roz told us in the Slack that the Lakers were 1-9 in their previous 10 playoff games. They won a playoff game here for the first time in what feels like a little bit. Let's enjoy it a little bit. And then, we'll see how Game 3 goes. But until then, and until the next time you guys hear from me, I'm Anthony Irwin saying, have a great rest of your night. Make somebody else's, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.